Welcome to the Tom Bernard podcast and the family. What happened?
With co-host Catherine Brandt.
What was that? Something just popped up on my screen and covered everything up. Anyway, welcome to the Tom Bernard podcast and the family with
co-host Catherine Brandt.
Andy Brandt Bernard.
And Kristen Burt.
What was that? That's never happened before. Something just covered the entire screen.
That is weird that you got a pop up that large.
I know the thing was huge.
Takes me back to the late 90s.
Yeah, there you go.
Screen covering pop-ups.
There you have it.
Almost makes you miss them.
Yeah,
but not.
Really. But not.
But
It doesn't.
also not.
At all. Maybe it's because we started early.
That's why.
The equipment didn't like the fact we started early.
Mad.
It all works out in the end. So I was going to actually post on X about this, but then I decided, it's better if I don't. It's interesting when you say something live, it's taken one way. And if you type it out on X or whatever, it's taken a completely different way because there's no.
Because your audience is different.
He's been taking
and tone too. I get to hear the tone of your voice.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Because if you just write it out in black and white, I'm going to interpret it my way.
Yep, that's what everybody does. Because some people think, "Well, why are you so crabby?" It's like, what are you talking about? I'm not crabby in the least today. What the? Calm down. But the one thing I did, so I decided this was probably something I wouldn't put on X. Just print it out. They'd have to see my face and hear my voice doing it. Because I grew up Roman Catholic. My mother was a very proud Roman Catholic woman, and I went to Catholic school for the first through eighth grade, and I mean the whole deal. Right? We couldn't afford to go to Catholic school because you had to pay a lot of money to go to Catholic school in Minnesota back in those. I suppose you still do.
I'm sure it's a lot of money.
It was a lot of dough.
Yeah.
So that wasn't going to happen, but. Yes, my mother being a very proud Roman Catholic, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through this with the Pope dying and all the rest of it. All I hear every time they talk about the Pope on TV, his burial hasn't happened yet, has it?
No.
I didn't think so.
Do they exclusively bury popes? I would assume so.
I don't know.
I don't remember what happened last time.
I don't know either.
There is no prohibition against a pope being cremated.
Oh,
there's
as
not.
long as the remains get buried.
Okay.
So they can be cremated.
Do they bury popes in a very private cemetery so nobody can just go there and tip over the headstone or whatever?
Assuming they're buried in Vatican City?
A graveyard of the popes.
Are they? I think it is.
Basilica, yeah, there's, I wonder.
I think there is a private cemetery.
I would think so.
There are 140 popes buried in the Vatican.
Okay.
So yes, there is a graveyard of the popes. 91 of them are in St. Peter's Basilica.
And his funeral is going to be international news. So we'll see all the world leaders descend upon Vatican City for it too. So.
Even Donald Trump's going to go. But is he Catholic?
No.
He's not.
I think he's like Presbyterian.
Oh, is he? Is that what he is? Fake religion?
Although I don't know if I've really seen him in church. He's Protestant. Yeah, he's not a big churchgoer for a president.
I don't think. Yeah, in October 2020, he declared he is no longer Presbyterian and is now a non-denominational Christian.
There you go.
Okay, there you go.
I know what the difference is.
I was raised Catholic. I'll always be a Catholic. I love being a Catholic, as a matter of fact. I didn't like the fish part on Friday. That's why I don't eat fish now.
I'm a lapsed Catholic.
We never did that.
Yeah.
We always told not to eat meat on Friday, and then we did it anyway.
We did it anyway.
Well, I think that's a choice. It's not like a commandment.
It was. It was back when.
Lent.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that they used to say isn't that important anymore. I mean, I remember when I was little, my mother had a niece or something. It was a nun, and they were so Catholic. Those people from Vesely, Minnesota, went to church every single day, and whatever the priest said was gospel, and you had to do whatever he said. And I remember hearing that the Pope was the mouthpiece of God, and I remember thinking when I was a little kid, that doesn't sound right. Because, I mean, how can a fallible human being, just because you say, oh, you're a pope now, all of a sudden you're infallible, you're the voice of God? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I've never liked the whole Pope part of the Catholic Church. To
No.
tell
I
you
feel
the
like the
truth.
reverence for the Pope, even going back, like, say 20 years ago, was greater than it is
Yes,
now. I
absolutely.
think you've
Oh,
seen the
God, yeah.
diminishment
Yeah.
of religion
Yeah,
globally.
yeah, well, and also the whole, pedophilia problem within the church didn't help it out either.
Yes.
No,
Being
no
from New
question.
England, we were very affected in terms of,
Oh, really?
yeah, because it was Cardinal Law of the Boston Diocese who was swapping priests with Cardinal, I want to say Mahoney, I believe, here in California. So they would just take the problematic priests on the East Coast and move them to the West Coast and vice versa.
Okay.
Which is interesting because, Andy, you read a statistic one time that there is no more pedophilia in the Catholic Church than there are across any other institutions,
Correct.
which was surprising to
Yeah,
me. It's
that's
just the way
true.
they handled it.
Yep.
The swapping
Yeah.
the guy out. It's like he
But
should have just been.
propaganda has made people think that all priests are pedophiles. Because
Yes,
people are
it has.
Yeah,
stupid.
and which they're
Yeah.
certainly not, but
No.
there was a huge problem. And I think too, you had the Boston Globe, their investigative unit unearthed this situation of what was happening.
Mhm.
And they won a Pulitzer for it. So there you go. That becomes
Right.
national news and it becomes a movie.
And then on the other hand, I guess a lot more young people are returning or being baptized in the Catholic Church all of a sudden, like
Men.
10,000 over the weekend or something.
Yeah.
They said it's men, young men are going back
Young
into the
men,
church,
yep.
and women are less likely to go back to the Catholic Church, which I think is an interesting
That is interesting.
statistic. Yeah.
Now, here's why I brought it up in the first place, because I was thinking about putting this on X, and I went, no, I cannot type this out because they're going to interpret it the way they wish to do. There was a woman going after me about how crabby I am all the time on social media. It's like, no, I'm not. I just went on there and told everybody how thankful I am and grateful how well you treat me. How is that crabby?
You've been very crabby about the twins.
Well, the twins, that's true.
You need to add lots of emojis so people can interpret your tweets as less crabby.
Tom,
Okay.
what's an emoji?
I know what an emoji is. Andy's wearing one right now.
No.
Kinda.
Okay.
All right, but in any case, here's the reason that I'm going to do it live on the show, because some people would take it the wrong way. And I'm still Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 8 years. I'm not a big church goer. I never was a big church goer, but I go once in a while, and that works out. But every time they say the word Pope, I cannot think of the head of the Catholic Church. I think of Don Novello. You know who Don Novello is?
No.
Don Novello created a character, Father Guido Sarducci, who used to play Find the Pope into the Pizza. And that's all I think of. When I hear the word Pope, I think Find the Pope in the Pizza.
I forgot about that bit.
I do that ever. Now, you can see why. If I typed that out, it would sound blasphemous and horrible and hateful and all the rest of it. But it's not. It's Find the Pope into the Pizza. It's wonderful.
There were a lot of inappropriate Pope jokes on social media yesterday. I saw plenty
I
of them.
bet.
There were
I bet
plenty.
there were. I bet there were. There's no question about it. But thank you to Don Novello, who played Father Guido Sarducci on Saturday Night Live. That was when, like 30 years ago, maybe?
Long time ago.
What we just had 50. It's got to be 50 years. He was part of the early days.
Was he really?
Yeah, because
That
we just
long
celebrated the 50th season of SNL. So
That's right.
I would say
Yeah.
that 45 to 50.
I bet you're
block.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you're right.
But
But,
apparently, the last time he did that role was in 2010.
2010.
Let's see.
But when did he
Sorry.
first appear?
When was the first one? Here we go. First appeared in 73.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, wow.
God, almost
Yeah.
50 years ago.
I was like, he was part of those early
It
days.
was more than 50 years ago. 52 years ago.
I didn't even know
Mhm.
SNL. Yeah. 73?
73. How?
God.
But Saturday Night Live. Oh, so he did it before
2025.
Saturday Night Live.
SNL
what's-
started in 75, but yeah. I think
75.
that
So what's his first
existed.
SNL appearance? I guess that's the question.
I think it was right at the very beginning.
Right at the beginning.
So he was doing that before Saturday Night Live, even.
Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Well,
My
it's a
God.
great character.
Clerical collar and a black coat for $7.50 at a thrift store.
He made a whole career out of it.
And just decided to do that. Yep.
That's great.
Everyone
But
has to have a gimmick. He found his gimmick.
Yeah.
It's
Sure
just
did.
great that he was a nice Italian boy who decided he'd play an Italian
He
priest.
was Italian and Irish, so he was.
And
double.
oh my
Oh,
God,
so
double
he's double
down.
Well,
whammy.
I guess it depends on what part of Ireland.
He did a famous
Yeah.
commercial. Was it like Budweiser or something? Do
That
you
might be right.
remember? Like in
Yeah,
the
it might be right.
80s?
But
It
now
ran
you
all the
Guido
time.
Sarducci?
Yeah.
Guido Sarducci, yep.
Father Guido Sarducci.
I want to
Guido
say it was like for
Sarducci.
beer or something, or
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't
Because
know.
a lot of the priests used to drink like fish. As a matter of fact, while Andy's looking,
Sargento,
what?
apparently.
Sargento
and also
cheese?
apparently- And also
Oh.
wine coolers, maybe.
Well,
Looks like he did a bunch of commercials, actually.
Oh, okay.
Father
Well, he was a
Sarducci.
he was a very popular face. I mean, people knew who he was.
But that would make
Still
sense
do.
because I would have been 21 years old when he started doing it. So I could see why I was so fascinated by that whole thing. It
That's
makes total
funny.
sense. But again, you can see why I didn't want to type it out, why I wanted to say it in person, because people would take it the wrong way. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 8 years. My mother adored the Catholic Church. So I got nothing against Catholicism. But every time I hear that word Pope, I think of that bit. I don't think of any reigning Pope or any of the rest of it. I think of Guido Sarducci every time.
That's so funny.
But I found it hilarious.
I
There's
think
no
you would have
question.
been okay because that feels like, I don't know, one of the less tasteful,
Yeah, for real.
honestly, that I saw about the Pope yesterday. So
Really,
we're
that many jokes.
when you just go, oh, a little soon for that joke. There were a couple
Right.
of those going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, growing up in Catholic school, I saw, and I know that a couple of nuns did some pretty untoward things to some of the boys at one of the schools I went to. And I don't know about any priests or any of that stuff. I know one priest met a woman and quit the priesthood and married her. So what was going on there?
Oh, man.
See if you know what I'm saying.
I
Whatever.
love it.
They have the option to do that, right?
Yeah, they do.
Little
you're not,
naughtiness behind the altar.
you're not locked into the priesthood. I think you can just leave it. There's no
Yeah.
going AWOL.
Another great thing about growing up in North Minneapolis, going to St. Anne's for 7th and 8th grade, Monsignor Eichinger used to walk out because there was a school and a church. He would walk out on Saturdays with a rifle and shoot the pigeons that landed on the church roof.
Take
Wow.
that.
He fired a weapon in the city. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that.
No,
right?
but you think about like what happens like back in the day that would never fly now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whoa, we did that. We did do that.
No, we got on the
I know.
elevator today, and a guy had a rifle in a case, and
He
we're like,
did, yeah.
I'm like, it was zipped up. He's going to go clay shooting, so he's okay.
Mm,
Yeah, clay shooter. Big
don't
time
really-
clay shooter.
Yeah, you don't see
shotgun,
people-
right?
Yeah, it must be a shotgun.
I
You
think a
don't see
rifle would be a
people.
little difficult.
Oh, I don't know.
No, it is a rifle. It's a single shot. It's not a shotgun.
For clay shooting, I don't know what you use.
Do
I
we?
don't know. I shouldn't say because I have no idea. I've never done it.
I just use
Yeah, you
a
have.
handgun that I hold with one hand.
There you go. Get that done.
All I need.
So, Father Guido Sarducci, thank you, and the Pope. Was it Pope Francis? I don't even know the Pope.
Pope
Is it
Francis.
Pope
Pope
Francis. It is. Yeah.
I think I'll forever be stuck on Pope John Paul II. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know.
I
I
felt like
know.
he just was very prevalent. And Pope
Yes.
Francis, like I knew who he was, but just not the same
Yeah.
pop culture relevance.
Yeah.
And
John
I
Paul
guess that's
II was the last pope that like everyone knew. I think.
Yeah,
And he was also
that's
pope
true.
for like 30 years almost. So that
I think
helps.
people liked him too, which
Yeah.
is a difference.
I think he traveled a lot. Like I felt like he was here a lot. Doing like Pope visits. and
Well,
things
John
I think,
Paul
yeah.
II is also a very popeful name. John,
is, John Paul II.
II. Got two
Yeah.
apostles and a second on there. And then you got Francis. Who's Francis?
And well, you had Benedict in there who hated being.
Benedict.
I do remember that one.
He didn't want to
He-
be the pope. Yeah.
He didn't want to be
wanna
Pope.
the Pope. Well, he quit, didn't he?
He did quit.
He quit. Yeah, he didn't
just
want to be
like-
the Pope anymore.
Sat around in his Gucci slides.
I am no longer infallible. Thank you.
What are you gonna do?
Well, it'll
You
be
know?
interesting watching the coverage of the new Pope selection.
It is kind of interesting. They kind of have, it's kind of like drafting a sports team. They have
it
like
is,
the
Yep.
Popes, or I should say the Cardinals who are in contention right now,
Mhm.
and why one would be better than the other to be chosen.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's some thoughts that maybe they'll go back to like an Italian pope because they haven't had one for a little
Right.
while.
Oh,
Right.
And why it won't be an American. And it's fascinating just to see how people are doing the odds of who the next pope will be.
Well,
Do they
since it-
campaign to be pope?
I don't know.
They,
I feel like that would be in weird, like maybe not good taste. Like
I
going
think
around and, like,
they go in lockdown once they're in,
yeah.
like for the conclave, like once they're deciding. But I think that there is some bidding, and I'm sure there's been bidding probably going on behind the scenes the last 6 months or so, where
He's been sick.
he's been sick. Yeah.
Very true. Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC equal housing lender. So again, you say the word Pope, I'm going to think of Guido Sarducci. I'm sorry, but that's just going to be me the rest of my life. So, but you can see why I didn't type that out, because you'd have taken it the wrong way. Because I write things out now and go, why are you so crabby? It's like, I'm not crabby. I'm having fun.
You need to just put like little kitty and puppy emojis after everything you write.
I think
and
so.
people will interpret it as not
Well,
crabby.
little happy face or
I
something.
suppose
Little
that's probably
unicorn.
That's probably true. We'll see what happens. But I should mention, by the way, that there are 3 of the choices, I believe, are black for Pope. So that would be the very first black Pope that I know of. Maybe there were some
Yeah.
in very, very early days, but I don't think so.
One is from Ghana, I think.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we shall see who the new Pope will be. My mother is up in heaven, I'm sure, spinning in her crypt or whatever she's
What?
doing. Toots
She's
was a
making
big
bids.
time.
She's like, this is who should be the next pope. Maybe maybe she's in on it.
big, big time Catholic. And I mean, way over the top Catholic.
Over the top.
over the
She
top.
was. Yeah, she was. I grew up in a very Catholic household. I will tell you that.
She was
There's
sort
no
of
question.
an over the top person.
Yeah, she kind of was.
She never crusaded or became an inquisitor. She's not an over the top Catholic.
Well, that's true. I suppose you're
No, she
probably
did
right.
never-
That's an over the
She
top.
didn't go on a pilgrimage.
No,
No,
never went
So-
to Lourdes.
no, she never went to Lourdes. I think she went to Long Prairie in Minnesota. That was about it. Long Prairie and Minneapolis, St. Paul. Not even St. Paul, actually. Long Prairie and Minneapolis. That was it. No question about it. So, Kristen, what's going on in your world?
Well, this is a kind of a fun one. Yesterday, the Oscars came out with new rules, and I was laughing because I thought, how is this possible in 2025? So the new rules for 2026, get ready, brace yourself, everyone, is that every member needs to have seen the movies in order to vote for an
my-
Oscar
What a shock.
winner.
God.
That
That wasn't
is-
a rule before.
That was not a rule before. And in fact,
Oh.
as a SAG member, Tom, you know this if you voted, it's
Right.
not a rule in SAG either. There's no
No.
accountability whatsoever.
That's right.
There's no accountability either. I'm in the TV Academy too. No accountability there. They haven't announced how they're going to account
Oh.
for this, whether
Yeah.
are you self-reporting, that type of thing, or I think they should probably get more sophisticated. So there are several ways you can actually get to see the movies. They offer screenings throughout the city in
right.
New York, Los Angeles, that kind of thing, so you can go in person. So they're going to have to account for that. I mean, there's already a digital RSVP, so if you show up, they're going to
Yeah.
know there. The other one is with the screening. I'm going to assume that there may have to, it's already encoded with your name and like membership number so that you can't just pirate it out on the internet. So maybe if you turn on that digital screener and start watching it, it will account for the fact that you've watched it.
Oh,
That's the only thing I can think of, but they're going to have to figure out a way because otherwise I can just say, well, I saw all 10 Best Picture nominees. Let me vote.
right.
Yeah, but it would be nice if you knew what you were voting for. That would be really great.
Well, it takes a little bit of the politics out of it. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is too. It proves that over the last, because remember, we're in the, like, I think we just had the 93rd, 95th. I don't know. We just had like a big one. And that's the thing. Like, so for 95 years, we've all just been voting for our friends,
right.
essentially.
Right.
Mhm.
Or I hate this person, so I'm purposely not going to vote for him, even though I didn't see their movie.
Yeah,
God,
that. It does seem like something needs to be done.
Yeah.
I would agree.
But yeah,
Yeah.
digitally, I'm guessing there's got to be a way of doing it pretty easily.
And I think that they're saying that you're not going to be able to unlock that category unless you've seen all of the movies to
Oh,
vote
okay.
for it. So let's say, there's 5 different best actresses in the category. You need to have seen all 5 of those. And if you haven't seen all 5 of those movies, that category doesn't get unlocked, which again, all of the ballots now are digitized too. We vote, from
Right.
home. We don't do a
Yeah.
ballot and mail it in anymore.
Remember how great it was? You used to get all of the movies sent to you if you're a member of SAG.
You can still get them. You can still request
Yeah,
them
you can
if
still
want
get them,
to.
but they
You
used
have
to send them
opt in.
automatically.
They
Yeah.
used to send them automatically. And I'll tell you,
Yep.
being a member of the TV Academy was wild. We would have 15 boxes arriving a day, and it was
Oh,
full
yeah.
sets of the season of everything. So, and here's the crazy thing, because NBC doesn't necessarily own every show that's on NBC. So
Right.
it could be owned by Warner Brothers, which is also attached to HBO, but it airs on NBC, and all 3 of them would send the full season to you. And you would have such waste, because it's not like I can go and give that to you and say, hey, why don't you take this season? Because if it gets out, again, your number is digitized into the screener and it winds up on the internet somewhere. You can be
yeah.
sued. So
Yep.
it's not worth it. So we would have to shred all of these DVDs just to get rid of them.
Yep.
It was such a
We
waste.
shall take a quick break. Be right back in a couple of seconds, right after this. From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands free, but you can't have your phone in your hand for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. South Dakota, one of the most business-friendly states in the country, and there's no better place to settle down and take advantage of those incentives than in Sioux Falls. As the state's largest city with a metro population over 290,000, Sioux Falls is low business costs with a high quality of life. There's no state, corporate, or personal income tax, no inheritance tax, and no limits to what your business can achieve. Sioux Falls, South Dakota was recently ranked number 1 best small city for business and careers by Forbes, number 2 best state business tax climate by the Tax Foundation, and number 5 top state for e-commerce by Nexus. As one of the Midwest's fastest growing cities, Sioux Falls is a robust growing job market. No matter where you're at in your career, we have an opportunity waiting for you. Our city's tax-friendly climate and strong workforce don't go unrecognized. Forbes named Sioux Falls one of the top small cities for business and careers each of the last 15 years. In 2020, Sioux Falls also ranked as the number 4 best city for young professionals. So how does South Dakota stack up against other states? We rank 2nd in the nation for the lowest cost of doing business, the most business-friendly state, and the best business tax climate. And as South Dakota's biggest city, Sioux Falls is at the center of these benefits. Now is the perfect time to make your move to Sioux Falls. Visit SiouxFallsDevelopment.com. God, those pictures, again, I know I say this quite often, but those pictures of Sioux Falls when I'm doing that commercial, they put the pictures of the city up there. What
That's
a beautiful city.
We need a road trip, because I see it all the time. I'm like, that river looks fabulous.
Doesn't it? It looks fantastic.
Like the
Does.
city, I'm like, that looks amazing.
Sioux
Spokane's
Falls.
like that too. They have a river running right through the city.
Oh, they do. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is pretty.
It is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, Sioux Falls is a great city. I love it there. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company, Bilski. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member of FDIC, equal housing lender. So what else is happening, sister?
Well, I have not seen the movie, and I'm going to make a trip this week to go see it. But Sinners has become like the hottest, buzziest movie at the movie theaters right now. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. So a lot of people will go, oh, I know them from Marvel, of course, Black Panther. But if you go back to their early work, of course, they did Creed, they did Fruitvale Station. They met at USC out here in Los Angeles, and they started working together on college projects. And here we are 15 years later, and they are making incredible movies. And Tom, I think you might like this one because it's a period film set in 1932 in Mississippi, but it is also a horror flick.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
So Michael B. Jordan stars as he plays dual roles. He plays twins. And they return to their hometown to start all over. And then they find out that the town is overrun with supernatural evil.
Well, my goodness.
And there is supposedly, and I'm just trying to stay away from spoilers, some fantastic twist in it that is sending
Oh.
people like all over the place. They're going crazy for it.
So I should go see this.
I think you should go see it. I'm going to tell you now. I did check the runtime for you because we know these things are very important.
Oh, no.
2 hours and 17 minutes. I didn't think that was the worst.
It's long, though.
It's long. So just prep yourself if you are going to go. 2 hours and 17 minutes. And it was the #1 movie at the box office. Total surprise. Everyone thought it was going to be Minecraft movie because it was a family weekend,
Yeah,
obviously, with
yeah.
Easter and the kids were out of school. But this one came in kind of as a big surprise. And they're already talking Oscars for it. So
What did it cost to make it?
about 61 million, which isn't bad.
No.
However, marketing
more.
costs. They did
Holy
some. I was like, hold on, but the marketing costs were about 150 million, so it's going to have to earn about 200 million globally
to break even.
to break even.
Wow.
I've not seen one commercial for it.
I just saw something, today.
did
I don't
ya?
know where it popped up,
Yeah.
but
But
It's
I
gonna,
think go.
it's gonna be tough, Kristen, because no one is ever going to beat my favorite movie where a black man stars as the monster. And the movie I'm talking about, one of the greats of all time, it's called Blackula. You ever heard of Blackula?
Yes.
I'm telling you, you sit in the Broadway theater in North Minneapolis seeing Blackula, and everybody in there is cheering like a son of a bitch because Blackula, who's a black man, is going after everybody. They thought it was wonderful.
That was the blaxploitation era, wasn't it? Of
Yes.
Yeah,
films?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Blackula. I can't remember who played Blackula. Andy, would you look that up?
Do you want
I
that on your
wonder.
browser history?
Yeah, well, there you go.
God knows what
William
kind of
Marshall.
ad you'll get.
Who was it? William Marshall?
Yes.
I don't know who
William
that
Marshall.
is.
Actually, I had him on the KQ morning show one time, like 40 years ago or something like that.
Oh.
Really great guy.
He was the king of cartoons on Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I love Pee Wee's
Oh,
Playhouse.
Yep, Pee Wee.
That
Pee
was
Wee's
fun.
The king of
Playhouse.
was a
cartoons was
family
Blackula.
Favorite. We watch that all the
Oh,
time.
we would in the summers we would watch it, and because we were up in Maine during the summers, and across the street my cousins lived, and then next door to my cousins, my childhood best friend, her grandparents lived there. So like, we had this little
Mhm.
triangle of like houses. So we would all congregate at one house and spend,
Ooh.
and there was 6 of us all together, and we would just watch Pee Wee's Playhouse on Saturday
I
mornings.
love-
And then my mom be like, "That's enough TV, out of the house." And then you're not expected back until 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
Is he dead now?
He has been dead for 22 years.
Pee Wee Herman?
No.
No, Pee Wee
Oh,
Herman's been
I thought you
dead
meant-
for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, William
I thought
Marshall's
you
been
meant-
dead.
Yeah, William Marshall.
Yeah,
No.
he was old.
Paul
let's
Rubens
see.
died of cancer several years ago.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's right.
Yes, he died 2 years ago.
I
Yeah.
loved him. I just loved that character. Pee Wee Herman was the best. Just that laugh
That was
alone.
great.
You know what the greatest thing after he passed was the tributes. People always say, "Oh, I loved working with him. He was a great guy." But people, like a lot of celebrities, said, "I met him once. He found out when my birthday was, and every year he would send me
Aw.
like a video montage of like fun things that he knew I liked for my birthday. Just
Just loved
Wow.
it.
whether it was Pee Wee or like just a video message." And he said he just never forgot anyone, was like just that really
Aw.
good friend.
I loved that show. Everything about that show. Well, what was that, Saturday mornings, Andy,
Saturday mornings.
when it first came out?
We had the
Yeah,
DVDs. So
We had the
That's
DVDs.
right. We had
that-
all the DVDs.
I watched it on Saturday mornings. And the talent that has come out of that, you
Yeah.
had, of course, Larry Fishburne, Paul Rubens, of course.
Yep.
Natasha Lyonne
Yep.
played the little girl.
Tasha Leone. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Phil
Was the
Hartman, of
cowboy-
course.
Cowboy.
Phil Hartman helped write the show along
Yeah,
with
he
Paul
did, yep.
Rubens.
And he ended up getting shot by his wife or something, didn't he?
Right down the street from over here. I passed it this morning.
Oh,
On my way to Starbucks in my morning walk, I was like, Yeah, it's very strange to live right by that house because there is
bet.
a very famous True Hollywood story about the Phil Hartman story. You can
Mhm.
find it on YouTube, and to watch just how the whole tragic day played out. And she was at Buca de Beppo. Do you guys have Buca de Beppo in
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we used to go there all the time.
Yep.
So this is a little the way the neighborhood's set up. It's like a little cute neighborhood that's surrounded by Ventura Boulevard, which is, big and busy, obviously.
Mhm.
And then the freeway is on the whole other side of this nestled little neighborhood. And, the fact that she drove, and by the way, it's literally a 5-second drive. And I mean a 5-second drive. She literally just crosses Ventura and she's at Buca de Beppo, like doing lines of Coke.
Right.
Like who
Yep.
does lines of Coke at Buca de Beppo?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then, comes home and then, shoots her husband after a fight or something. And
Right.
and then leaves the house and goes tells a friend, like, I shot my husband. He's like, I don't believe you. And then they drive back and it's like 3-4 a.m. I mean, the whole night was bananas to watch it play out. But then when you watch it play out in your own neighborhood, obviously 30 years later, but it is strange. And
Yeah.
the house looks exactly the same. You would know it anywhere. Like the new owners didn't try to disguise it. The only thing they've done is put like woodland sculptures of like little bears and animals. And I feel like they've tried to change the karma of the place.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that is
Uh,
that Buca de Beppo came out, and I can't remember the guy who started it. What was his name again?
who started that?
I don't remember who started Buca de Beppo, but the
I don't
great thing
know.
about that
Was it Beppo?
is at the top of our, when I had a 40 share in the KQ morning show, we'd go to Buca de Beppo and they'd put a table up for us in the kitchen. So
Yep.
we didn't sit
Oh,
out
yeah.
among the people. We sat in the kitchen
Among the
and ate
unwashed
our dinner.
messes.
Wasn't it Big Polly who was
Big Paulie,
he
yep.
worked
Big
there?
Polly, that's right.
Big Paulie
God.
worked there,
It
yep.
was founded by Phil Roberts.
Phil Roberts, there you go.
We would have leftovers. I would freeze
I
it
remember,
and try
yep.
to give it away. I had just so much food.
So much food.
So
Because it's
much
family
food.
style. So it's
Yep.
So much food.
their ziti's good though. Like a good big ziti.
Yeah.
We would go there. It must have been twice a month for like a year.
Oh, God, yes.
And eventually I was like, I can't eat this anymore.
Yeah.
One of the
I
greatest
ate
things about it,
so
Kristen,
much pasta
Pastified.
that I am just like tossed it out. I don't
Yeah.
think I ate Italian food for 5 years after that.
That makes sense. You like the sight of pasta. You're like, I can't.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I would tell you though, honest to God, going to Buca de Beppo and Big Paulie would meet us at the door and take us into the kitchen. It was like you were in the mafia, for Christ's sake. We got all
Wow.
this special treatment.
The Buca de Beppo mafia.
Buca de Beppo
A
mafia.
chain.
I don't know. I mean, people are doing lines of Coke there. So
Yeah.
Well, didn't the owner, he ended up in kind of a tough situation, didn't he?
The
I
owner
don't
of it?
remember.
Didn't
I
he
don't
stay?
know.
Didn't he stay at the Gray Bar Hotel for a while?
I don't know.
One of the runners or the owner or somebody
I
like
was
that.
not familiar with Buca de Beppo until I moved to the West Coast. We did not have them
Okay.
on the East Coast when I grew
Right.
up.
They're not
in New
here in
York City.
Florida either. I don't think. I've never seen.
Oh, they're
them.
even around anymore?
My Buca de Beppo is still here.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I think
Are
that
they-
one up in Maple Grove is still there.
Is it really?
I think
Oh,
we
sure.
still have one.
God, we gotta go. We gotta go back to Buca de
Buca de
Beppo.
Beppo, and it has a ghost kitchen. Do you know what a ghost kitchen is?
Yeah,
No.
No.
What
You
is
know
it?
what a ghost kitchen is, Tom?
I do. Tell them.
Okay. So if you're ordering off of like DoorDash or Uber Eats or things like that,
Mhm.
these popped up during the pandemic. They're like, we don't want to just sell pasta because it limits our customer base. So they started putting on what I would say ghost kitchens of like Mary's Hamburgers, and they would cook them out
Right.
of the Buca de Beppo kitchen. And you would think you're ordering from Mary's Hamburgers, but if you Google the address, you're like, wait a minute, that's Buca de Beppo. So
Right.
they're making it
Right.
look like Chuck E. Cheese did this during the pandemic.
Yes.
So you're
Yep.
thinking you're ordering from like Luigi's, and you look and you're like, I'm ordering from the Chuck E. Cheese kitchen.
It all works out in the end, no question. Chris Eggert's listening to this whole thing, smiling.
Gotta
He's
make a
very
dime.
Happy about this. No, well, God, you got to, Kristen, you got to go already. That half hour went by very quickly.
I know.
It did.
Far too quickly is all I have to say to you, sister. So we will talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, I will see you all tomorrow.
Looking forward to it. Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. We'll take a break. Be right back. Chris Eggert will join us with his Buca de Beppo stories probably right after this. Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Brian Thiel, president of Abrasives of St. Paul.
What I like best about North American Banking Company is the small town feel with great products and very good service. And I love the people. I would definitely recommend North American to other business owners. A lot of banks I could choose from, and North American Banking Company is the one.
So why not bank where I bank? With my friends at North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. That's nabanco.com, or stop by any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. For Brad John Bryant, Michael Bryant. Michael, what's up?
Dealing with another case where a person gave a statement to the adjuster because they thought the person was really friendly.
Is that a good idea?
Well, the problem is they know the law when they call you up. And while you're trying to be fair and you're trying to get help, the reality is there are questions you get asked that the way you answer them make a big difference. And people put themselves in trouble. And when they aren't in trouble, they didn't do anything wrong, but suddenly the adjuster's got a statement that can blow up their case completely.
What has caused people to be so untrustworthy, I guess is the best way I could put it? They take advantage.
Well, insurance companies have hired adjusters whose job it is to deal with unrepresented people. So they're supposed to kind of lure them in, call them every day, see how they're doing. And people are like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Where the reality is they've kind of adjusted to their problem that they've got going on. So it's not that they're completely better, but the way they say it gets to be a problem. And that's why having somebody who can explain your rights, represent you, make sure that you understand the law before you give a statement can make a big difference in your case.
Michael Bryant, Bradshaw and Bryant. Ladies and gentlemen, this part of the show is brought to you by Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation at 952-925-5608. And, of course, Chris Eggert, sponsored by Mr. Josh Arnold. What do you think of that action? So what's happening, Chris?
Nothing. How are you guys?
Having a good time just talking about, I reveal the fact that every time they talk about the Pope being dead, I think of finding a Pope in at a pizza. Because I didn't realize that's over 50 years ago.
You're talking about Father Guido Sarducci? Is that your
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Over 50 years ago that happened.
That's, yeah. That whole 50-year thing, whenever I hear it, it kind of makes my skin crawl a little bit.
I know. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Buka sounds amazing right now, too, by the way.
Oh, God, I love
Lunchtime.
Buka. We had so much fun. Big Paulie, he was big, too. He was not a little guy. We'd go and Big Paulie'd set us up. We'd have got phenomenal food. The owner would come over and sit down with us once in a while and have a glass of wine. And it was quite an era. Like I said, I had a 40 share back then. So everywhere we went was a lot of fun.
Living large, my man. Living large.
Living large for about 35 years.
Usually when you meet somebody named Big Paul, you expect them to be very small.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Chinese are huge. Yeah.
That's absolutely true. There's no question. So what's going on in your world, pal?
What do you guys think? You've been following this whole Tesla vandalism thing.
Oh, yeah. The whole
It's
nation has been following this. This is
going
on Newsweek. It's everywhere.
How do they find them not guilty?
With it on camera. Well, they didn't find him not guilty. They're just not going to press charges.
Isn't a diversion program.
Oh, diversion. Okay. So don't do that again.
That is the terminology that's been described. And through that, the person will not have to face charges, assuming they don't damage or get in trouble with something else. And also, I believe, assuming the money gets paid back.
How many cars did he damage? Like 4 or 5?
6 or 7.
Six or seven.
Mhm.
6 cars to the tune of like $21,000, I think was the estimate. Yeah.
Does he at least have to like pay the people back?
That's the catch with the restitution.
Okay.
With what the diversion program is. Go ahead, Catherine.
The thing that stinks so badly about this, it stinks anyway, but it stinks even worse because he worked for Walls, right?
Yeah.
And the Hennepin County attorney is the one that said, no, we're going to send him to diversion. It's
there's lots.
It seems very incestuous.
Filthy is what it is.
From everything that I've read, yes, I think one could definitely see some some special favors being made here and there for that to work out that way.
Which is an interesting way to do things because everyone is seeing the videos of him all over the country and probably the world by now, keying the hell out of all these Teslas. I mean, it just doesn't it just make Minnesota leadership look weak and ineffective?
I would say so.
I've been really interested to see how Walz has evolved since he came back from his vice presidential run, and how at first he seemed like he was like trying to take a lot of pot shots at Trump, and he was like being pretty vocal with it.
Yep.
I've not been seeing as much of that the last couple weeks, unless maybe it's just not in my universe, but I haven't been seeing as much as that. But I also haven't been seeing him getting more hands-on involved in the state legislature or anything this year either. And they've only passed like 2 bills so far this session. And at this point in the session last year, there had been like 24 bills passed. So I guess I'm wondering he's definitely making some kind of a strategic move. I don't know what it is.
Well, he's been out of state doing all kinds of town halls.
Right.
I think he still wants to be VP.
I mean, I definitely think that's what it feels like too. But yet, I heard some tracking polls the other day with people who the Democrats are thinking of as the leadership of which the party doesn't really have a clear leader right now, obviously. But that like it's Catherine Harris or it's I already forgot her name, Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
That happens.
Yeah.
I defaulted to Catherine Harris, who was the Secretary of State during the Hanging Chad election in Florida. That's the name I just.
Yeah.
Kamala. KOC is the second in popularity right now.
AOC.
AOC.
KFC.
I just don't see how she can debate
KFC.
KFC. Yes, exactly.
Fetterman. Some of the, so it's. I never heard Tim Walz's name come up in any of that.
No, he's got no chance.
Any of the tracking of any people in the conversation. I guess that's what my whole bill.
I don't even think he has a chance of being reelected as governor of Minnesota. People have had enough of him with all this.
He sure did turn into a showgirl when he was on stage.
Did.
It was kind of amazing how he changed his personality.
Yeah.
I guess to me, I'm really waiting to see which way that goes. If he reads the room a little bit on the national level and goes, all right, well, maybe this isn't happening. Maybe I should go back to Minnesota and get to work and be a leader and try to get a more present leader and try to get things going at the legislature. Some of the things that I guess you would expect from a governor to do. I don't know.
I don't understand one thing about that, and maybe you could straighten this out for me. He's not even from Minnesota. He's from Nebraska. How did he ever get elected governor of Minnesota? He's not even from there.
I don't think you have to be born in the state to become.
Yeah, but you should, I feel like, right?
But he didn't come to the state of Minnesota until several years later, did he?
Let's see. He was born in Nebraska.
Born in Nebraska, I knew that.
I think he came here when he was teaching, right?
Oh yeah, so it was like he was in his late 20s or 30s or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Why would you elect somebody like that the governor? He's not even from Minnesota. You want somebody from Minnesota to be the governor, don't you?
I mean, I think that's a discussion that voters could have when they went to the polls and decided in the first place. I don't have a position on him. I'm
right.
And what I'm just curious and I'm observing what he's doing, and it definitely looks like he's trying to get himself back on the national stage, but like there's plenty of work to be done here. But
he moved here in '96 when he was 32.
He's 32, yeah.
Well, I think that Walz got every activist agenda that he wanted last session.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think there's anything else for them to really do. I mean, they're facing a budget shortfall, which means he's going to have to cut something, and that's going to make people mad at him, and he doesn't like people being mad at him. So it's tough, hard work now, and I don't think that he's going to enjoy that because people are going to be mad. And
it's a divided government right now too. So getting anything done one way or the other is definitely they don't historically get as much accomplished on years when no party has a clear majority. But
Right. And then there was all that stuff where they weren't even showing up. The Democrats weren't even showing up because they were
Just
mad
the first
about.
month, right?
I mean, it's seriously, it's like little kids trying to govern the preschool. It's just really sad.
This is way off topic, Catherine, but I asked you guys about the righteous gemstones last time I was on last week.
Oh God!
And you said you told me this last season was like they were just making stuff up and just trying
Balls
to
to the
beat
wall.
Yeah. And so my wife and I started watching it since I saw you guys last.
Yeah.
Like, what the? It's just
I know.
they got that baby baby brother Bobby or whatever. He's just like naked for no reason.
Penis hanging out in every episode.
I know, they had him water skiing naked.
Yes.
And then they have the camera going right up his crotch,
I know.
like a drone. I'm like, what are they doing? They're crazy.
It's not very good. I got.
No, you don't even want to finish it.
No, it's not. But
not good.
now it's like a car crash to me. I want to see.
Yeah.
Well, they brought in Megan Mullally, and I loved her so much on Will and Grace.
Oh, Grace, yeah.
Yeah, she was so fantastic. She was one of my favorite characters of all time. And it's like, oh, Megan Mullally. But now it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's
Why?
not good. I loved the first couple of seasons, and this season is just not good at all.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Car
It's
wreck.
very weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll just keep going this way because they just don't care, or if they actually pick a storyline other than Daddy's got a new girlfriend.
Maybe you guys have better knowledge of this, but isn't the guy like the main guy who sort of the show is the older brother? Isn't it his?
Yeah,
I don't know that.
It was.
And I think it is, and I think everything that guy ever does is sort of like this. There was his first, what was it called? I started watching it. It was like 15 years ago, and he was like the same character, just a sort of outlandish. I can't remember what the name of the show was, but it made sort of nonsense, just kind of didn't seem to be going anywhere, and funny at times, but then on the other times you're just kind of like,
Yeah, could you not? Maybe.
Yeah, could you not? Maybe. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I don't know. It actually seemed like it was going to be a little bit more normal. It just got weirder and weirder, and I think we're on episode 3 or 4, and I'm like, I don't think we're going to finish it.
I think we finished 5. We finished 5 last night. I was mad. They're doing a lot of like flashback in this particular and like backstory and here's how this worked or whatever. And they did and I won't ruin it. I won't ruin the episode for you, but the episode we watched last night, they were all young. All the siblings were young, but it was set in like 2002, and there's no freaking way any of them, like they're off by 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that pissed me off. I'm like, that would have been such an easy thing to remedy, and I don't know why they did it that way, but whatever.
How many episodes total? Aren't there only 5 total anyway?
No, I think
there must be
8 or 9.
There's 8 or 9 of this.
Yeah.
Of
this?
It's not good at all.
What are you
I
guys
love the
watching?
people in it.
What are you watching that's good?
We just started watching that new
John Hamm.
Oh,
show,
yeah.
Friends
Is that
and
good?
Neighbors. I like it. You said you like the second episode way more than the first, right?
I'm still not sold on it. It's kind of boring.
Oh, I like it.
Just the same droney thing, and I like John Hamm a lot. Don't get me wrong, I like him a lot, but I'm not sold on it. We'll keep watching it, no question about it.
And then we're watching the one with Kevin. Oh my gosh, Dirty Dancing guy. No, not Dirty Dancing. What am I thinking? The musician. It's the one.
Bacon?
Kevin Bacon.
Oh, Kevin Bacon, we like that.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
got a
that
new show that's actually really good. What's it called? Andy, look it up.
Yes, he's dead, but he comes back to life.
The Bondsman.
The Bondsman. Yeah, there you go. It's
really?
weird, but good.
Oh, it's really weird, but he does such a great job.
He does. He's really
he's
good.
dead, and he has to work for the devil.
Oh, I like
He's
that.
running around. He's running
That
around
seems
working for the
interesting to
devil.
me. Yeah, that like
Yeah.
that's weird, but at least it's something.
Yeah, it's actually, and it's funny. It's funny at the same time. I thought it was. I think it's really good, and it's something sort of refreshing. I haven't seen anything like it.
What's it on?
No,
I don't know.
Amazon
Yeah.
Prime Video.
Amazon Prime. There you go.
Tommy, I don't want to. Wait, do we have to take a commercial break? I don't know where you're
No,
at.
not for
a while.
another 5 minutes.
Okay. I've been, and I don't. If I'm going somewhere, I shouldn't tell me to stop. But I've been enjoying your Twitter feed a lot lately.
I didn't talk about.
You
one
seem to
thing.
be that you seem like you're kind of letting her rip, and I'm enjoying it.
Well, yeah, I just literally, it's the situation where I just,
Well, you may as well.
I don't know. It does break my heart that radio is coming apart at the seams. Radio is almost over. And that makes me really sad because I've been in radio since I was 17 years old,
Yeah.
all those years. And I love doing the KQ morning show. I was there for 37 years. It was the biggest, highest rated show in America. And look, I mean, K-Fan's still doing really well, and you guys are doing well at Hubbard on the female side. So, but those two are about the only two companies that are doing anything. I mean, what they're doing over at my old station is like, what are you insane? They already have PBS. They don't need you.
It has been interesting to see how the business has evolved, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just sort of, in a lot of regards, I just think everyone's like, I don't know. Everyone's having a hard time trying to figure out how to tap into an audience because the audience is so segmented. It never used to, it never used to be that way. It's definitely challenging. But on the other hand, anything that is good usually gets listeners or viewers or whatever it might be. So, I mean, it is possible to get people's attention, but I definitely think you have to do it in a different way.
And the big problem we have on this format, on podcasting, is a lot of people get a podcast and they get some success, and then they just go way over the top with kissing ass for money.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. But like I said, I listen to some radio when we're down here. There's a place called The Gator that I listen to.
Yeah.
But
The Gator.
The Gator. Yes.
Been around a long time.
Been around a long time.
The Gator.
And one of the women on the morning show, her name is Megan Spaghetti.
It's not her real name.
I know, but that's the name she uses.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Megan Spaghetti.
Well, couldn't your name be Spaghetti? Spaghetti was named after something.
No, what
Well,
was
that-
spaghetti name?
Megan Spaghetti. Megan Spaghetti.
Oh, I wasn't listening.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, that's where I'm kind of look. I love doing what we're doing. I'm sitting here talking on podcasting. I loved being on the radio. It was wonderful. I was never much on television. I'd be on television once in a while, but I love doing it, and I wanted to do it until I wanted to be the new Sid Hartman. Just get off the radio at 100 years old.
Right.
But it's a totally different business now. It's completely, they're fighting for not many listeners anymore. And that happened very, very fast. Well, it's happening on local television too. I mean,
I just read a very startling article in the last couple of days, and everything with the economy that local TV is kind of hanging on. And I'd like to think the locally owned companies like Hubbard and are an advantage because they don't operate the same way as some of these giant conglomerates that have 200 TV stations across the country or whatever. But there's a lot of unknowns in the industry right now, and all of it, it's definitely in a transition time. There's no doubt about that.
But I mean, why would you want to live life without a local newscast? That makes no sense to me. And that's one of the reasons I don't care for it. That's the one thing about podcasting. I love doing this show. As a matter of fact, I love working with the family, and I wanted it. Matter of fact, I talked just about 6 months ago about being the Sid Hartman and doing this till I was 100 years old, and then, check out or whatever.
Check out at the mic.
Yes. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All the rest of it. I'm getting a lot of support from the listeners. Listeners have been very, very nice to me on X and all the different formats. very, very complimentary and really, really nice. So I'm just trying to find I got to the point, last week, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just not, but I do want to do it, but I don't know. I got to find I got to find out where the hell I belong. You know what I mean?
It's hard to figure out what your lane is. And I think that's the same issue that radio has right now.
No doubt.
It's trying to figure out what it can do to get people and the biggest thing is differentiating yourself, because there's so much that's out there and available. And some of the stuff that's become very popular in the podcast world, it's the whole niches get the riches mentality.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I'm not doing
that niche, a podcast for sewing embroidery on pillows is suddenly like one of the most popular podcasts.
I know.
Because you found a way to tap into this audience that to this point has never had any sort of forum like this. So yeah, it's weird, that's for sure.
And I think if you're into people telling you the truth, then you should listen to this show, because I'm not going to lie to anybody about anything. It's not going to happen. That's why, like I said, you have really good people on your radio stations over there. There's no question about it. And I think the world of Joe and the guys on Score North are really, really nice guys. You have really good people over there. And your TV look, I used to be the voice of Channel 5, Eyewitness News for many, many years. I really like all the people there too. It just, this national quirky crap I'm hoping people grow up and get away from that. It's just this quirky, goofy bullshit. I just hate that. You know?
I think, and I still believe at my heart of hearts that authenticity is something that people really value.
I hope so.
And that's what gives some of us a chance who really, truly try to do it in the most authentic way possible and not bullshit people. But
I agree 100%. Look, I watch I'm sitting in Florida right now, and the one news channel I have down here is Channel 5 Eyewitness News. That's the one good thing about it all, is you can get it in any market you travel to.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really good part of it. So I watch your news every day, I'm just like, and we'll be back for the summer for 5 months. Looking forward to that. But I just think there's so much going on right now. It's really hard to figure out where you belong or where you fit in or any of that stuff.
I agree. And then I think there's also some part of the population that doesn't even want to know anything about anything. And they're just like,
that's true.
I'm just going to listen to music all day. And
I did an interview yesterday with Neil Justin. And what's so great about that is that there were times when Neil interviewed me and I was owly as hell and I didn't care for him. And I was like, oh, Jesus, you're going to make this. Yesterday, I talked to him. It was like talking to an old friend. And as a matter of fact, Andy, I want to reach out to him. I want to have Neil on the show like once a week.
That's where you have to be more careful.
When?
You think they're your friend, then you say stuff.
Yeah, you get into really big trouble then.
Yeah, I've had him ask some questions that I wasn't really quite sure how to answer.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I've also had some very good interactions with him too. So if you had a good conversation, then that's good.
I have not read the article yet. I know you can get the article online, no question about it. I haven't read it yet, but I've already gotten a bunch of calls from people that I mentioned in the interview, like Norm Coleman reached out and said, thanks for mentioning me in your deal and all the rest of it. But it seemed like, Neil was kind of surprised that I was so pleasant, and it all worked out at the end. And I said, hey, you should come on and let's talk about where radio's going, where television's going, where newspapers are going, because it's all changing really fast.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you imagine that. Look back when you were a kid or in high school or whatever. All that mattered was television and radio and newspapers. And now they're fighting for position. I mean, the phone did it. You're absolutely right. It absolutely did work out that way. The telephone changed everything. And it certainly changed the way you drive, because most people are not driving their car. They're staring at their phone.
Don't get me started on that.
You don't want to talk about that much? That's really, really frustrating when people will not get off. There was a guy, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday or the day before, in front of us at a light, and he was on his phone. The light changed green and he just didn't move because he was too involved in what was on his telephone, which is, by the way, illegal, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be watching your phone or looking at your phone when you're
No,
driving a
it's
car.
only illegal if it's enforced, is the thing.
Well,
right,
that's a very good
right,
point.
and right. They got. I think the cops have 99 problems, and the phone thing is
Yep.
on a low.
And
Which,
the phone ain't one.
yeah, which is unfortunate because it is a problem. But I just we're so held captive by our stupid ass phones that. But
One
can
thing
I
I would
swear on
warn
here?
people-
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You
I'm
can.
Oh, I think we've said worse things than that on the show. There's no question.
Okay.
The one thing I would warn people about, and that you could count on in the days when it was television, radio, and newspapers, is you got very close to the truth. There were different versions of it. Some were conservative, some were very liberal, and all the rest of it. So you get different takes on things, but at least you got the truth. It was a version of the truth, but at least there was the truth. Now it has news. Now is entertainment for people, and that's really too bad.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate. Is there any word on what's television going to do?
I think I don't know. I mean, I don't. That's above my pay grade.
Well, no, I understand that.
I just keep falling back on the idea that if people do know and trust certain organizations to be straight with them, and I gotta hope that I can't speak for anybody else. I can speak for us that we're going to be straight with people as much as we can, and that's how you differentiate yourself. You don't get into the BS, and you try to do the story as down the middle as you can and present all the sides. But to your point, people don't even necessarily want to hear that anymore. They want to hear their truth. And
that is exactly the point, because what popped in my head just now is the Minneapolis-St. Paul market is one of the greatest television markets in the United States. And what I mean by that, you go down the list of all the people that have been around. Now, women came on the scene later on, but you had Dave Moore was phenomenal. That you had Don Shelby, you had Ron Majors, you had Paul Majors. You go to all these magnificent. Now I'm leaving people out because those five guys just popped into my head because I knew every one of you guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, phenomenal news people, and the women, fantastic news people. What are they going to do when they just go away?
Well, that's what and you see it sort of all across the country too, is when these big contracts come up, and that Paul Majors money ain't around anymore, and
no, it's not.
And that's the reality, and it's gonna it's gonna evolve. The people you see are gonna evolve. There's no doubt about that.
And I had such fun in my early career, never going straight at it, but most of the big talent on television news, not you, but a few of the other people, hitting the bar after the show was a big part of that business, man.
Well, and that was back in the day. You went and drank lunch, and then had a little happy hour between the shows, and then came back at 10. And that was the culture. That movie Anchorman was satire, but it wasn't that far off in a lot of ways. And you were around for some of that, Tom. So you know.
No question. And we'll close with this because I know you got to go and we got to go as well. But I'll close with this. I just mentioned this yesterday in Milwaukee. It was when I worked at Capitol Records. It was part of my territory. When you went there, I won't say which station, I won't say any names or anything, but there were very, very famous people in Milwaukee. The anchor was on every night, pretty hammered. And I was working at Capitol at the time, so I had to appear on some show there, and they said, you have to talk to the general manager. And I said, okay, well, where's his office? And they said, it's in the bar across the street. And I went over there. He had his own phone on the bar. So when they called his office, he would answer the phone at the bar.
I would have died. I would have died in those days. I have a hard enough time getting through it without drinking, let alone not being fully coherent. But
some of it was better because they were drinking, man. You got the real story. There's no question.
Not wrong.
All right, Pally, we'll talk to you next week.
That sounds good, Tom. See you, Andy.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
We'll take one more break. Be right back right after this. I'm talking with my friends Michael Bilski and Brad Huckle of North American Banking Company. Guys, business owners have had to deal with a lot over the last few years, haven't they?
They sure have, Tommy. We pride ourselves on being able to help our customers with the challenges they face.
Our business bankers are experts and are always ready to help our customers capitalize on opportunities and solve problems.
Loan decisions come quickly because they're made here in the Twin Cities and not shipped out of state like at some of the national banks in town.
This allows our customers to expand their businesses with confidence, knowing that they have our team of experts in their corner.
Okay, so now you give me this big thing at the end. Way to go.
Well, you are the professional.
Oh, I forgot. Look, I know Brad and Mike, and I trust them with my banking. They've personally delivered on everything they've just said. So why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, can sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid endorser.
And the baby looks around him and shares his pay with a girl in the palace of the king.
There you have it.
Sorry,
ladies
I was
and
always here. Just my computer decided to update it the last.
It did.
minute.
Absolutely. To close, I would say this. What I'm doing right now is I'm kind of trying to figure out, because I got very frustrated. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, more than another year or two at the most. I do want to do it, but I got to figure out. I mean, it was back in the days when you would turn to the Star Tribune, you turn to the Pioneer Press, or whatever your local newspaper was. You watched your local news on television. You listened to your morning, radio people and your afternoon radio people to get the real truth. If we turn this all over to national media, in other words, podcasting, you are never going to get the truth.
No.
We got to figure out how to hold on to both. You have to get the truth locally. Otherwise, you're never, ever going to get the truth.
Well, I think there's always going to be podcasts, and there's always going to be different.
I hope so.
Different stations. Like, I mean, some of them are very religious or whatever. Doing versions. If you're willing to, shop around, but most people just want to turn on that good old CNN and hear about, kidnapping.
CNN and Fox are the two things that are the biggest right now. And the biggest problem you have there, my whole life was getting up and reading the morning newspapers from St. Paul and Minneapolis, listening to morning radio because I was an evening guy at the time and all the rest of it. Watching radio, watching the nightly news with I mentioned the Dave Moores and Don Shelby's of the world, and of course, Chris Eggert and all the rest. I don't think we should be losing that, because once we give up the local news, local television, local radio, and local newspapers, now newspapers can go online, but as long as you can get the truth about the city from them, that'll be okay.
I don't know if you do. I don't think you get the truth from the Star Tribune now.
Well, I know, but I mean,
a lot of things.
I mean, they haven't been truthful about things for years, maybe decades now.
Well, it's that version, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know where you're thinking that it's been, unbiased for.
Oh, no, I think it's been biased. Don't get me wrong, but you're going to get one story. If you count on national news only or national programs only, you're going to get one story. There's not going to be any opposite opinion.
That's true, because you see these reports where they just parrot the exact same line.
Exact same thing.
Yeah, all of them.
So I want to do a show on, I'd like to get back on radio, maybe on the weekends or something, one day a week. Or I was talking about doing that with some people, but they are having their problems. They're losing their ratings like there's no tomorrow across the board. I just understand you don't want to lose local radio. You don't want to lose local television, newspapers. And if people get on social media, and look, there are people I could reach out to right now and make a hell of a lot more money than I'm making, as long as I would do what they tell me to do. But I'm not doing that. I mean, you can make some big dough in podcasting if you'll kiss ass and follow along with everybody else. But that's not who I am, and I'm not going to do that. Right?
You shouldn't.
I'm not.
You want to be able to sleep at night.
So tell your friends to get off their ass and watch this show. Otherwise, you can kiss my sister. No. Anyway, we got any closing words, Andy?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, you're of a different generation. What do you think of that?
I mean, I don't know. I've never really done news aggregation like that. Like
Yeah.
I've never watched news channels or gone to news websites or that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I tend to hear things like, word of mouth, and then I'll look them up.
Well,
That's
that's the big part. Most people don't look them up. They just hear it word of mouth and they believe it. You
Well,
don't
yeah.
want to start doing that.
Yeah,
Most
you like
people just believe whatever they first heard,
yes.
Yep, that's very true.
Or
And
if
you do
it,
not
like-
want to do that.
if it confirms their own biases.
Hmm.
Exactly. I mean, we have always had people on shows that. I mean, there's no more liberal human being in the world than Mike Gelfand, and I'm the one that hired him over at KQ and brought him on this show. I mean, he is way far left. We don't really have anybody way far right, but we have people that lean right. I tried to get the whole ground covered. Somebody from the left, somebody from the right, somebody in the middle. Not a lot of people do that anymore. They just don't, unfortunately.
MB in the chat wants to know if you ever watched Broadcast Wars. It was
I
on
don't think so.
Twin Cities PBS, and it was about the Twin Cities news market from the 50s to the 90s.
Oh, I bet you is it still available?
Let's see. How do you find it?
Well, if it's on PBS, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
Your tax dollars paid to make it, and then you got to pay for it when you want to watch it.
Okay, no, I'm just watching it right now. So there you go.
Oh.
Where do I
Google
find
It's
it?
on pbs.org. It's freely
PBS.org.
available.
You
I
can watch
will
all
watch
of it.
Yep, the first episode description, Stanley Hubbard is an early pioneer in radio and television, and KSTP is the local news for decades.
This does go way
Dave
back.
Moore and his team, WCCO. Yeah, it's
I gotta watch it. Absolutely. They should have done one for radio too, because radio was this was a huge radio market.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
but-
this is all about TV, but I'm guessing.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out. All right, Pally, we will talk to you tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, that's going to do it. And we will be back tomorrow.
Bye.
Got a picture in my pocket reminds me of this was before. Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talking.